Cinema Classics is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center at 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes are online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to the shows online at WCBE.org. I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Johnny DiLoretto.
And this is
Cinema Classics.
Yeah.
And we are at the Gateway Film Center as usual.
in the inner sanctum.
The inner sanctum.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the office.
Yep.
My office mates are listening to us record the show right now.
All right, here's a quiz for you.
Mm-hmm.
Something common in all of these.
Mm.
Selma, Theory of Everything, Imitation Game, Unbroken, Foxcatcher, Big Eyes, American Spy, Wild.
Those are all recent? Those are all recent.
Yes!
Let's see, what do they all have in common? They are, none of them are great.
Oh, come on. They are.
Wait, which one is great?
They're all great, and Selma's very good.
Selma, okay, Selma.
Yeah.
Okay, they're all based on true stories.
That's right. They're what we call biopics.
Selma is a biopic?
Yeah. Martin
How's that?
Luther King.
I wouldn't say that.
No, there's a.
I'd say it's
no,
a historical
No, if you take a certain part of somebody's life, it's still a biopic.
Yeah, no, that's true, but when you base it on an event, then it's just historical,
Well,
right?
I'm not sure.
I
mean,
get what you're saying. I think
you
we've
for-
already found the gray area.
For instance, Iron Lady.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about Margaret Thatcher as an old lady.
Yeah. And-
Worthless film because they picked the wrong part of her life.
Okay.
Okay, so but that I would still call that a biopic.
Okay, I get what you're saying. You're right. Like, for instance, Lincoln, the Daniel Day-Lewis Spielberg
very
collaboration
nice.
recently,
Ooh,
focuses on that one part of Lincoln's presidency.
I like
the
it.
Emancipation Proclamation. Now, what is those are for me the most effective biopics because it reduces. First of all, in terms of time, it allows the filmmaker to explore in depth one facet of somebody's
Yes.
life or one historical moment within a life. I always find that these broad, sweeping biopics are kind of lame, ultimately.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So Imitation Game, I
Yeah.
think is a really good contemporary biopic.
Yeah, right. And again, focuses on that one part of Alan Turing's life.
Yeah. Now, how would you rate, for instance, Capote?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Capote, and that doesn't have anything to do with what period of time it focuses on. I always thought that Philip Seymour Hoffman was really miscast.
Yeah, I remember that. I shouldn't have asked you that.
Yeah,
I
you
really
should
did.
you should try another one.
But
Go
that
ahead.
backstory is what they're relying on
Yeah.
for that one, rather than the whole. Let's look at Milk.
Okay.
Okay, so Harvey Milk, a particular time in his life. It doesn't take you through his whole. That's good. Focuses in on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Sean Penn, of course,
Yeah.
in a great performance.
Well, here's one I could ask you about.
Yeah.
How would you react if I said Raging Bull?
No, see, that's great.
Of course.
That's probably one of the best.
Really?
Well, I'm
I
going to
knew
tell you
that.
why.
I knew
Not
it.
just because I'm a fan of that movie, but I'm going to tell you why. It's a great biopic. Because it focuses on a period of time over which a lot of drama transpires,
Right.
but also you get, a true exploration of one person's psychology. And, Scorsese really mines that character and explores that character with the camera, with the story, with the other performers, and gets at a depth that few biopics do. He's not interested in telling you Jake LaMotta's story. He's interested in showing you the psychology of a damaged human being.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter that it's a biopic. That's secondary to what Scorsese is trying to accomplish.
And so I would say, in a similar way, King's Speech.
I hate
Does I do. I picked these because I
What a
knew you
lame
didn't
movie.
like it.
a snooze.
Still,
Yeah.
does it
Wow,
fit
I mean, like-
your paradigm? That's all.
I don't know.
Taking a particular part of a person's
Yeah,
life.
I guess so, right.
Illuminating it and gives you some better idea
Mm-hmm.
of what's going on in the world.
I just think more dramatically interesting films could be made rather than asking the audience to sit on the edge of their seat whether or not this guy's going to stutter during a speech.
What about American Sniper?
Yes, American Sniper.
Okay.
I think that is another good movie. Even though you get a little slatch of Chris Kyle's childhood in that movie,
Yeah.
it's only used
Only a bit.
only a bit and only kind of to set up who this guy is. I mean, there's not a whole lot of time spent there, and I think it's fine. It's a really, I think it's a fine movie, one of Eastwood's better movies in recent years.
I think one we could both agree on, a spectacular biopic, Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that. I'm glad you said that because I was holding on to that one. Lawrence of Arabia, again, just that prime example of a film that takes one aspect of a person's life and uses it to illuminate something about the human condition.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter that Lawrence existed. You know, it doesn't matter if it's fact or fiction. What matters
Right.
is what his life gave to that particular narrative and that particular story that David Lean wanted to tell.
And exactly, it fits the myth. Who cares about the exact details?
Mhm.
We got the romantic spirit of the myth of the man and the time, and that's great. Now here's one of my favorites,
Yeah.
and it spans a little more than just the kind of focused era we're talking about. This would be Walk the Line.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah.
Do you?
I
The
did.
Johnny Cash
Yeah,
Joaquin
yeah,
Phoenix movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I came from that appreciating Johnny Cash and appreciating Phoenix's performance as much as anything.
I really don't remember anything about it. I mean, I saw it.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
kind of really ineffectual for me. As was Ray with Jamie Foxx.
Oh, right, good one, yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about that. Now, here's one on your list right here that I think is an interesting
Okay.
thing to talk about. Amadeus.
Yeah, all right.
Again, difficult to really nail down how much truth we're seeing, but for me, that film is spectacularly entertaining. It's illuminating more about the human creative process, the unique artist's
Yes.
perspective, and
Look,
I don't really care about historical accuracy as long as you can give me something I can chew on.
What's good about it is that it fits with our general notion of Mozart. It zeroes in a bit on how goofy he could be when he's not composing. It made him a real human, and I think you are so right. It's exactly what I said. I don't care how absolutely detailed. It fits with my notion of him, and it gives me a sense of his exuberance, which is reflected in his music, and some kind of a hint as to how he might have died. So all of that fits together, and I don't go away, and I'm not telling anybody this is exactly the way it was, but it is. And I guess we both agree the biopic does not have to be historically perfect.
No, not at all. And like you said, it's kind of functions along this continuum where sometimes the story is in service of illuminating a person's life, and then sometimes the person's life tells the story. And I think we're both agreeing that the former is more effective than the latter.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you a current one that I think fits our paradigm very well is Foxcatcher.
Oh, now, see, that would be interesting because I wouldn't necessarily think that's a biopic. I would think that that's a movie based on a true story. I think that's where we're getting at, right?
That's true.
There are biopics and there are films based on a true story, based on true events.
Inspired by true events is the current phrase that allows them that real scope to put in their own creativity. So I would consider that in either case, I am quite sure not all the details of DuPont's particular time with soccer and with his becoming a murderer are at the focus of that film, not the DuPont family and not him as a young man. But anyway, yeah, I think we're moving around about the same thing, which says, let's get some of the details right. We don't have to get them all. Let's get a feel for the woman or the man and that life and its times, and that's about as much as we can do with a biopic.
I agree. One other interesting note, John, I see on your notes
Yes.
here, that you have written down that 35 Oscar nominations have come out of biopics.
Currently, and we'll see later on in this month when the Oscars announce their winners, how many of those get awards, but it's 35 nominations.
Now, see, that's because there's so much emphasis placed on the importance of a life,
Yes.
Because they can't all be, those are not all great films. And I think sometimes we conflate the greatness of a life with maybe the greatness of a movie.
Yep.
And that's not always the case.
Yep. So, we'll hear, we'll know, but they are 35 nominations for many biopics that we enumerated at the beginning of this show.